Welcome to Conspiracy Files with Zoe Parker. I'm your host, Zoe Parker, and in today's episode, we peer into one of the most enduring and controversial subjects in the world of hidden power and secret control: the Illuminati. Are they the invisible hand behind world events, or simply a myth born of fear and imagination? In this investigation, we will explore the origins, symbols, key players, and cultural impact of the Illuminati to uncover the truth that lies in the shadows. The roots of the Illuminati conspiracy trace back to late 18th century Europe, in a time of revolutions, monarchies, and secret societies. The historical Illuminati was founded in Bavaria, in what is now modern-day Germany, on the 1st of May in the year 1776. It was the creation of a law professor named Adam Weishaupt, who sought to establish a group that would challenge the oppressive religious and political structures of the time. Inspired by Enlightenment ideals, Weishaupt envisioned a network of intellectuals who could influence society through reason, logic, and progressive thought. This secret group called itself the Order of the Illuminati, meaning the Enlightened Ones. Weishaupt's vision was to quietly infiltrate existing power structures, particularly the church and monarchy, so that their influence could be redirected toward a more rational and just society. The members of this order were sworn to secrecy and operated in strict hierarchical cells. They adopted aliases, created internal codes, and used symbolic rituals borrowed from Freemasonry to maintain operational security and loyalty. The order grew quickly, drawing in philosophers, aristocrats, and freethinkers who shared a dissatisfaction with traditional authority. At its height, the Illuminati had several hundred members, including prominent figures in Bavarian politics and culture. But their rise did not go unnoticed. The Catholic Church, along with the Bavarian monarchy, viewed the group as a threat. In 1785, the Bavarian government issued a series of edicts banning all secret societies, including the Illuminati. Weishaupt was exiled, and the group was officially disbanded. Despite its relatively short lifespan, the legacy of the Bavarian Illuminati endured. The group's secretive nature, combined with its goal of subverting power, created fertile ground for speculation. Some believed that the order simply went underground and continued to operate in secret. Others claimed it had never truly dissolved at all. Over time, this idea evolved from a historical fact into something much larger and more ominous. As Europe moved into the 19th century, whispers of a shadowy elite controlling world events began to surface. Writers, politicians, and theologians started to link global revolutions, banking systems, and even the rise of socialism to the influence of the Illuminati. What began as a small Enlightenment-era club had, in the minds of some, transformed into a global network pulling strings from behind closed doors. It was during this period that the Illuminati stopped being just a historical group and began taking on the characteristics of a full-blown conspiracy theory. The name became a symbol, not just of secret power, but of hidden agendas and unseen forces manipulating society. From that point on, the Illuminati would exist in two worlds, one of historical fact and one of speculative fiction. As the mythos of the Illuminati evolved, certain individuals and organizations became central to the expanding narrative. Some were real, others were symbolic, but all served to deepen public fascination with the idea of a hidden elite manipulating the course of human events. One of the earliest and most influential texts linking the Illuminati to world affairs was penned by a man named John Robison, a Scottish physicist and professor. In the year 1797, he published a book titled Proofs of a Conspiracy Against All the Religions and Governments of Europe. In it, Robison claimed that the Illuminati had not only survived their suppression in Bavaria, but had expanded across Europe, infiltrating Freemasonry and sowing revolution. He tied the order to the French Revolution and warned of their plans to overthrow monarchies and religious institutions. Though much of his evidence was speculative or anecdotal, his writing helped establish the image of the Illuminati as a destabilizing force with a global agenda. Around the same time in France, Augustin Barruel, a Jesuit priest, published a similar account linking the Illuminati to revolutionary movements. Barwell's work suggested that the Illuminati had orchestrated the downfall of the French monarchy and were working toward a godless world government. Together, Robison and Barwell laid the foundation for what would become the modern concept of the Illuminati conspiracy, a secretive, well-organized, and ideologically driven force bent on global control. In the 20th century, this narrative was expanded and popularized by a range of authors, conspiracy theorists, and political commentators. The Illuminati became a catch-all explanation for global conflict, financial manipulation, and cultural transformation. Prominent families like the Rothschilds and Rockefellers were frequently cited as suspected members or financiers of the Illuminati, accused of using their wealth and influence to steer governments, banks, and even wars. Symbols also became an essential part of the Illuminati lore. The all-seeing eye, often depicted within a pyramid, is perhaps the most recognizable. It appears on the reverse side of the Great Seal of the United States and on the $1 bill. Though the symbol itself predates the Illuminati by centuries and has roots in Christian iconography, many believe it was adopted by the order to represent surveillance, control, and divine knowledge. Another symbol closely linked to Illuminati mythology is the owl, particularly the Owl of Minerva. Some researchers point to secret gatherings at places like Bohemian Grove in California, where powerful men reportedly gather beneath a massive owl statue, as evidence of continued elite rituals tied to the Illuminati's legacy. Celebrity culture has also been absorbed into this narrative. High-profile musicians, actors, and influencers are often accused of being Illuminati puppets. Their use of hand signs, symbolic clothing, or coded lyrics is interpreted as proof of allegiance. While some of this may be coincidental or stylistic, the persistence of these claims speaks to the public's enduring belief that fame and influence are linked to hidden forces. The theory expanded further in the digital age, where forums, blogs, and video platforms gave voice to thousands of independent investigators. Every global crisis, market collapse, or political shift became a potential sign of Illuminati influence. From governments to entertainment, from currency to war, the invisible hand was always just out of reach, but always suspected to be there. The claims supporting the existence of a modern Illuminati often center around a few recurring themes. These include the alleged infiltration of powerful institutions, the orchestration of world events, and the use of symbolism to signal control. While definitive proof is elusive, believers point to patterns and connections that seem to them too precise to be accidental. One of the most prominent claims is that the Illuminati secretly control global finance. The argument suggests that a small group of wealthy families, multinational banks, and shadow organizations exert influence over central banks, monetary policy, and international trade. The establishment of the Federal Reserve in the United States in the early 20th century is frequently cited. Though it was created as an independent central bank to stabilize currency and financial markets, some believe it operates as a private entity with unaccountable power, possibly answering to interests beyond elected officials. World events are also frequently reinterpreted through the lens of Illuminati influence. Wars, assassinations, pandemics, and even natural disasters are viewed as planned rather than spontaneous. For example, the outbreak of major global conflicts is sometimes framed as intentional efforts to reset economies, shift borders, or eliminate opposition. The phrase "order out of chaos" is often quoted in these discussions, with believers suggesting that chaos is deliberately manufactured to justify new systems of control. In political arenas, the Illuminati is said to operate behind the scenes, placing candidates in office, manipulating elections, and crafting policies that slowly erode national sovereignty in favor of global governance. International organizations, such as the United Nations, the World Bank, and the International Monetary Fund, are often mentioned in this context. Critics argue that these entities, while publicly framed as cooperative institutions, may serve as tools for implementing a broader, coordinated agenda. Symbolism plays a central role in Illuminati claims. Beyond the all-seeing eye and pyramid, theorists point to the frequent use of numerology, checkerboard patterns, and specific hand gestures. These are believed to appear in everything from corporate logos to music videos. While skeptics argue that symbols can be interpreted in countless ways, believers maintain that their repetition in elite contexts is intentional. A common narrative holds that new members of the Illuminati must perform public rituals or symbolic acts to signal their allegiance. This claim is often applied to celebrities at award shows, athletes during celebrations, or politicians during televised speeches. Though there is no concrete evidence to support these assertions, the presence of repeated imagery continues to fuel speculation. Another key piece of supposed evidence lies in leaked documents and whistleblower testimonies. Some individuals have come forward claiming insider knowledge of Illuminati operations. While many of these claims lack independent verification, they are often accepted by believers as confirmation of long-held suspicions. The secrecy surrounding elite meetings, such as those held by the Bilderberg Group, only adds to the allure and mystery, as attendees are rarely transparent about what is discussed behind closed doors. Together, these claims form the foundation of the modern Illuminati theory, a belief in hidden coordination among the world's most powerful figures, and a suspicion that events are rarely as random as they appear. To understand the strength of the Illuminati narrative, it is important to examine how the core evidence is interpreted and how those interpretations hold up under scrutiny. While believers often point to connections between power, wealth, and secrecy, much of the evidence is circumstantial, interpretive, or symbolic, rather than direct and verifiable. One of the most frequently cited examples is the symbolism found in government seals, corporate logos, and pop culture. The all-seeing eye within a pyramid, the repeated use of the number 13, and the prominence of owls, suns, and duality themes are all considered signs of Illuminati influence. On the surface, these symbols may appear coincidental or artistic. However, for those who believe in hidden meanings, these designs represent a language understood only by those initiated into secret knowledge. Skeptics argue that the presence of these symbols is often exaggerated or taken out of context, but the pattern recognition instinct is powerful, especially when trust in institutions is already low. Another recurring piece of evidence involves public speeches, gestures, and coded language. Specific hand signs such as the so-called devil horns or covering one eye are widely circulated in online forums as supposed Illuminati signals. These gestures, often made by musicians, actors, or politicians, are framed as evidence of allegiance to a hidden power structure. Critics note that many of these signs are commonly used in unrelated contexts, such as in sports, rock music culture, or casual photography. However, believers argue that repeated use across unrelated figures points to something more deliberate. The existence of elite gatherings also plays a role in bolstering the theory. Events like the Bilderberg meetings, the World Economic Forum in Davos, or closed-door sessions among corporate and political leaders often spark suspicion. Because these gatherings are private and rarely subject to public oversight, they become breeding grounds for speculation. Leaked guest lists and statements, often lacking context, are interpreted as clues pointing to a unified elite directing world events. While many of these meetings are officially described as forums for policy discussion and networking, the lack of transparency allows alternate narratives to flourish. A less visible but often mentioned form of evidence involves ancient texts and secret knowledge. Some believe that the Illuminati possess esoteric wisdom passed down through mystery schools, ancient priesthoods, or occult traditions. References to the Kabbalah, Hermetic teachings, or alchemical texts appear frequently in discussions of Illuminati origins. These belief systems often focus on hidden knowledge, transformation, and the manipulation of reality, all concepts that align with the perceived goals of the Illuminati. Whether these associations are intentional or retroactively applied remains a matter of interpretation. Financial influence is another major area of focus. Trillions of dollars flow through global systems largely invisible to the average person. When billionaires, banking families, or tech moguls move markets or fund social change, believers often frame these actions as coordinated rather than coincidental. The complexity of the financial system, combined with its opacity, makes it difficult to verify or refute such claims. In this vacuum, theory thrives. Though none of these elements constitute definitive proof, they collectively form a network of perceived patterns and unexplained anomalies. The theory does not rest on a single document or event, but rather on the convergence of symbolism, secrecy, and influence that believers interpret as the markings of a hidden hand. While many people find the Illuminati theory compelling, there is also a long tradition of skepticism surrounding it. Historians, political scientists, and journalists have offered alternative explanations for the patterns and connections often cited as evidence. These critics argue that what is frequently described as secret coordination is more accurately explained by coincidence, shared interests, or the natural workings of complex systems. One of the most common arguments made by skeptics is that power tends to concentrate in the hands of a few because of structural, not conspiratorial reasons. Large corporations, for example, often have overlapping boards of directors and shared investors, which can create the appearance of coordinated control. However, according to this view, these connections are not necessarily the result of a secret cabal, but are rather a byproduct of how capitalism functions at a global scale. The fact that a small number of people wield enormous influence may be disturbing, but not necessarily the result of an Illuminati agenda. Another point raised by critics is that secrecy is difficult to maintain at large scales over long periods of time. Government agencies, corporations, and high-profile individuals are subject to leaks, whistleblowers, and investigative scrutiny. If a group as powerful as the Illuminati truly existed and had been orchestrating global events for centuries, skeptics argue that some definitive proof would have emerged by now, beyond symbolic interpretations and alleged gestures. Skeptics also highlight the human tendency toward pattern recognition, especially when individuals seek explanations for chaotic or frightening events. In times of crisis, people often turn to narratives that provide a sense of order or purpose. A shadowy group pulling the strings offers a simple explanation for events that are otherwise complex and difficult to understand. Conspiracy theories can offer comfort by replacing randomness with intention. Psychologists have explored how conspiracy thinking can fulfill emotional and social needs. Belief in a hidden order can provide a sense of identity, belonging, or superiority. It may also serve as a response to feelings of powerlessness. In this context, the Illuminati theory is seen not as a reflection of reality, but as a coping mechanism for navigating an increasingly interconnected and opaque world. There are also critics who believe the popularity of Illuminati theories may be deliberately encouraged as a form of distraction. According to this argument, focusing public attention on theatrical or exaggerated conspiracies can obscure real issues of corruption, economic manipulation, or institutional failure. By framing all elite activity as part of a vast occult network, these theories may prevent people from organizing around more concrete and documentable problems. Even some former believers have stepped away from the theory after discovering that many of the symbols and claims can be explained through cultural context or artistic choices. For instance, musicians may use provocative imagery to generate controversy or to express rebellion, not to signal secret affiliations. Likewise, architects may incorporate ancient symbols into buildings for aesthetic or historical reasons rather than as markers of hidden allegiance. Despite these counterarguments, belief in the Illuminati persists. The theory has proven remarkably adaptable, able to absorb new developments and reinterpret them through its lens. Whether viewed as fact or fiction, it continues to thrive in the space between trust and suspicion, where explanations are uncertain and the search for meaning remains constant. The enduring fascination with the Illuminati reflects something deeper than mere curiosity about secret societies. It reveals a profound concern with how power operates in the modern world, who holds it, and whether the public is being told the truth. Even in the absence of concrete evidence, the idea of the Illuminati resonates because it speaks to real dynamics of control, secrecy, and influence that shape global affairs. In political terms, the theory serves as a mirror for public anxiety about transparency and accountability. As governments grow more complex and decisions are increasingly made behind closed doors, it becomes harder for citizens to understand who is truly in charge. Bureaucracies expand, international agreements are negotiated in secret, and intelligence agencies operate with little oversight. Into this vacuum steps the narrative of the Illuminati, offering a way to interpret unseen influence that feels otherwise inaccessible. In economics, the theory reflects growing frustration with inequality. The concentration of wealth in the hands of a few families and corporations is not a theory, but a measurable fact. When 1% of the population controls more wealth than the rest combined, it creates fertile ground for suspicions of coordinated dominance. The belief that the financial system is not only rigged but orchestrated by a shadow elite gives form to feelings of disempowerment that many experience in daily life. Psychologically, the theory taps into an ancient instinct to see patterns and assign agency to events. For thousands of years, humans have tried to explain plagues, famines, and natural disasters by imagining invisible forces or divine punishment. In modern times, this has evolved into political and technological interpretations, hidden cabals instead of angry gods, surveillance networks instead of curses. The Illuminati, as a symbol, carries this ancient impulse into the contemporary world. Culturally, the theory has taken on a life of its own. It influences art, literature, music, and film. Entire genres of entertainment are built around the idea of secret societies and global manipulation. From dystopian novels to blockbuster thrillers, the narrative is reinforced and reimagined, making it increasingly difficult to separate fiction from belief. This fusion of storytelling and suspicion creates a feedback loop, where pop culture shapes public perception, and public perception fuels new creative works. In this way, the Illuminati theory becomes less about a specific organization and more about a symbol. It represents everything that is hidden, denied, or left unexplained. It becomes a placeholder for the unknown, the misunderstood, and the feared. For some, it provides clarity. For others, it raises even more questions. But in either case, it exerts influence, not necessarily because it is true, but because it feels true within the larger context of confusion and mistrust. The adaptability of the theory also plays a major role in its survival. Whether discussing digital surveillance, artificial intelligence, environmental policy, or pandemics, the narrative can expand to incorporate new technologies and crises. As the world changes, so too does the theory's framework, always finding new ways to suggest that events are not what they seem. In this way, the Illuminati serves as both conspiracy and commentary. It is a theory about control, but also a reflection of how disconnected many people feel from the centers of power. Whether taken literally or metaphorically, the impact is real. It influences how people interpret the news, how they view authority, and how they relate to the structures that govern their lives. The influence of the Illuminati narrative extends far beyond underground forums or fringe literature. Over the past few decades, it has become deeply embedded in mainstream culture, shaping not only conspiracy communities, but also media narratives, online content, and popular discourse. What was once whispered about in secret has now become part of the digital landscape, appearing in music videos, social media posts, documentaries, and even comedy sketches. One reason for this shift is the rise of digital platforms. With the advent of widespread internet access in the late 1990s and early 2000s, ideas that were once confined to zines or obscure books became shareable to millions in seconds. Videos exploring alleged Illuminati symbolism, secret meetings, or decoded lyrics began appearing on major platforms, gaining traction through algorithms that reward provocative content. As these ideas spread, so did a new kind of folklore, one shaped not by tradition, but by memes, viral images, and user-generated commentary. This spread has had a measurable impact on public perception. According to several surveys conducted over the past 2 decades, a significant percentage of people across the world believe that secret groups wield hidden control over governments, media, or economies. While not all of these beliefs are tied specifically to the Illuminati, the name itself has become shorthand for the concept of an elite that rules from the shadows. It has become a symbol of hidden power, often invoked in serious debate and casual conversation alike. Entertainment industries have not only reflected this trend, but amplified it. Musicians accused of Illuminati ties sometimes lean into the narrative, using the symbolism to fuel intrigue and controversy. Directors and writers embed references into scripts, visual cues, or storylines. Some do it for effect. Others may be engaging with the themes sincerely. Regardless of intent, the result is the same. The boundary between fiction and reality becomes increasingly difficult to define. Media coverage of conspiracy theories has also evolved. Where once the Illuminati might have been dismissed outright, it is now often discussed with a mix of curiosity and caution. News segments, podcasts, and documentaries now explore these topics without necessarily validating them. This shift allows the theory to remain part of the conversation, keeping it alive in the public imagination without requiring firm evidence to support it. In educational settings, the theory has even been used to explore larger questions about knowledge, power, and belief. Students are asked to consider how narratives spread, what constitutes reliable evidence, and why people find certain explanations more compelling than others. In this context, the Illuminati functions not only as a conspiracy theory, but as a lens through which to examine how societies construct truth. Meanwhile, online communities continue to evolve. New generations of theorists reinterpret old claims, link them to current events, or develop entirely new variations. Some blend the Illuminati with other frameworks, such as extraterrestrial involvement, artificial intelligence control grids, or apocalyptic prophecy. Others use satire to critique the theory's assumptions or highlight its contradictions. But whether approached with belief or skepticism, the narrative remains resilient. In this cultural environment, the Illuminati has become more than a theory. It is a mythology for the digital age, a flexible narrative that adapts to shifting fears and expanding technologies. It moves between seriousness and parody, between evidence and imagination, always changing, always returning. And whether seen as fact, fiction, or something in between, it continues to shape the way people understand the hidden forces behind everyday life. Beyond its cultural presence and media saturation, the Illuminati theory has also given rise to more speculative and fringe interpretations. Narratives that move deeper into the realms of the occult, interdimensional influence, and spiritual warfare. These versions of the theory are not simply concerned with earthly power structures, but with forces that transcend the material world. Here, the Illuminati are not just political manipulators or financial puppeteers. They are guardians of ancient knowledge, practitioners of hidden rituals, or agents of darker entities operating behind the veil of human perception. Some fringe researchers believe the Illuminati derive their power not from wealth or politics, but from ancient systems of occult knowledge passed down through secret mystery schools. In this view, their influence stretches back thousands of years, to ancient Babylon, Egypt, or Sumer, where the original priesthoods developed esoteric techniques for controlling both individuals and societies. These traditions are said to involve astrology, sacred geometry, alchemical transformation, and rituals designed to harness the unseen forces of the universe. According to this belief system, modern Illuminati members are the inheritors of this arcane wisdom, using it to shape consciousness on a mass scale. Other theories suggest the Illuminati are not entirely human. They propose that the order has connections to non-human intelligences, either extraterrestrial beings or interdimensional entities. In some variations, these beings are said to have made pacts with early civilizations, offering knowledge in exchange for worship or control. The Illuminati, in this version of the story, act as earthly agents carrying out an agenda far beyond politics or finance. The purpose is not just control of society, but manipulation of the soul, the mind, or the energetic field of the planet itself. A related concept appears in theories involving frequency manipulation and mass consciousness. Here, the idea is that the Illuminati use media, music, architecture, and even urban design to embed specific frequencies or symbolic structures that influence human thought and emotion. Some point to the use of certain numbers, shapes, or sounds as tools for affecting the subconscious mind. This belief holds that control is not enforced through physical means, but through subtle programming that alters how people perceive reality. In more religious frameworks, the Illuminati are portrayed as part of a spiritual battle between good and evil. Some claim the group serves a Luciferian agenda, one that seeks to invert spiritual truths, erode morality, and prepare humanity for a new order that denies the divine. This viewpoint often draws on biblical language, prophecy, and apocalyptic warnings, casting the Illuminati not just as conspirators, but as agents of a final confrontation between light and darkness. Though these ideas may sound extreme or unprovable, they continue to draw interest from a wide range of people, especially those seeking explanations that reach beyond politics and into the metaphysical. The appeal lies not only in the drama of the narrative, but in the sense that deeper truths may be hidden behind layers of deception. Whether viewed as literal, symbolic, or purely imaginative, these fringe perspectives add another dimension to the Illuminati's story, one that reaches into the unknown and dares to suggest that the ultimate struggle is not for nations, wealth, or control, but for the very soul of humanity. As the theory of the Illuminati continues to evolve, one thing remains clear. It has become more than a conspiracy. It is a symbol of a deep, persistent question: who is really in control? Whether rooted in history, speculation, or cultural myth, the idea of a hidden elite manipulating global events touches on something fundamental in the human psyche. It reflects a desire to understand the forces that shape the world, especially when those forces seem distant, unaccountable, or deliberately concealed. From the documented origins of the Bavarian Order in the late 18th century to the complex theories of financial domination, occult ritual, and interdimensional manipulation, the story of the Illuminati has expanded into a vast and layered mythology. Each generation reinterprets it, incorporating new symbols, technologies, and fears. What began as a secret society of Enlightenment thinkers has become, in the minds of many, a nearly omnipresent force that transcends geography, ideology, and time. Yet despite the theory's persistence, the question of evidence remains unsettled. Concrete proof of a modern Illuminati organization remains elusive. Most claims are circumstantial, symbolic, or rooted in interpretation. The gestures, logos, and rituals identified by believers are often explained by critics as artistic expression, coincidence, or misreading. The lack of transparency in global systems feeds the theory's strength, but it also makes it difficult to either confirm or fully dismiss. This uncertainty is part of what gives the theory its staying power. It lives in the spaces between fact and fiction, between the official version of events and the possibility of another hidden layer. It draws strength from mistrust in government, media, institutions, and even reality itself. And in an era where trust is increasingly fragile, the Illuminati remains a compelling framework for those seeking meaning in chaos. Importantly, the theory also serves as a cultural metaphor. It stands in for larger concerns about corruption, manipulation, inequality, and secrecy. When people say Illuminati, they may not always mean a literal group. Sometimes they are pointing to the feeling that something is wrong, that the system is rigged, that truth is being hidden. The name becomes a shorthand for the unspoken, the unexplained, and the unresolved. Whether one believes in a global cabal or sees the theory as a lens for interpreting power, the narrative of the Illuminati continues to shape thought and conversation. It influences how we view leaders, institutions, and even ourselves. And as long as people question the world they live in, the Illuminati will remain part of that questioning. Thanks for listening. This has been another episode of Conspiracy Files with Zoe Parker. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow us wherever you get your podcasts. And if you'd like to support the show and unlock bonus content, subscribe to the Forbidden Knowledge Network on Patreon. Subscribe now.